do this very often, but I just came across a video called Timeline Connection, Double Homicide Kylen Shulte, Crystal Turner. And as I was mentioning it the other day, it just so happened that Geneva Crime Time released a video that popped into my mind as I was on live stream, and I thought that I would read the transcript because what the hell is going on here? Just a sec. Because I learned a couple things in this video, and I would like to read you the transcript. She pointed out a couple very interesting points about how Gabby Petito was found in a very similar manner as the other girls. Now, does that mean partially clothed? But I'm going to leave this video in the description. Please click on it and follow it up and check it out.
I'm 100% certain that I did see him parking his van, and he was very kind of awkward and confused, and it was just him. There was no Gabby, but that's only because as a van lifer, I was checking out their van, and I was checking out to see if it was a couple or a solo dude. So it was a solo dude as far as I could see, unless she was in the back somewhere. But when I pulled up, he was driving still and hadn't yet pulled over. So I was like, hey, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna get over? Are you gonna let me pass? Because it's only one car width of a road. And he kind of pulled over like halfway and made me drive out of the road to go around him. So I thought it was just really weird. And for a timeline, it was parked on the 26th, I believe.
Let me go briefly and cover what it is that Geneva said in her live stream. Hello everyone, welcome back to Geneva's channel. I found some strong evidence in the timeline and details in the case between Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie, she says. It's lining up with the Kylen Shulte and Crystal Turner case, the two lesbians that were also found shot to death in Moab, Utah. Kylen Shulte was 24 and Crystal Turner was 38. They had been married for about 4 months and were living as campers in their van for a while they camped at various locations in Utah's LaSalle Mountains on a regular basis. Shulte was originally from Montana and her wife was from Arkansas. She worked as a cashier at the Moonflower Community Co-op for 4 years. Wow. Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie fought at the store where murdered Kylen Shulte worked. This is where the 911 call came from 6 days after that call. The 911 call came from 6 days after that call, and police had contact with Laundrie and Petito. The two women were both found dead. Utah police said they were investigating potential connections between the two high-profile cases that seemed to have happened within weeks of each other. A representative for the Grand County Sheriff's Office said, "We're looking at everything. I mean, anything and everything. That was suspicious around that time, or we're not ruling anything out at this time." Now the timeline, of course, starts on Thursday, August 12th. The Moab police were dispatched to a domestic incident between Petito and Laundrie. Miss Shulte worked at the Moonflower, where an eyewitness saw Brian Laundrie and Gabby Petito involved in a violent altercation, according to a police report. That alleged altercation happened as Petito and Laundrie were driving towards Arches National Park. The responding officer reported that the couple's van was traveling about 45 miles an hour in a 50-mile-an-hour zone. As the officers turned on the lights to pull over the van, it swerved and hit a curb before coming to a stop. Another officer wrote that Petito was slapped. Petito had slapped Laundrie after an argument, at which point Laundrie allegedly attempted to lock her out of the van. She forced her way back in before Laundrie drove off. The two told the officer that they're in love and engaged to be married and desperately didn't wish to see anyone charged with the crime. They told officers they struggled with their mental health and neither were on medication. The long road trip was taking a toll on them. The time spent created emotional strain between them. increased the numbers of arguments. Petito's van was discovered in disarray from how it first appeared when Petito released a YouTube video documenting their cross-country road trip. Police say both, including witnesses, Petito slapped Laundrie during an argument, and Laundrie grabbed her face and pushed her back. The pair was told to separate for the night, with Petito maintaining possession of the van. No charges were filed after police separated Laundrie and Petito. Laundrie was taken to check into the Bone Hotel in Moab Friday, August 13th. Shulte and Turner were last seen leaving a local bar, Woody's Tavern, at 8:30 p.m. the day after Laundrie and Petito had been separated. Following their fight, the two women went on the camping trip, staying around Moab, Utah area, but jumping from campsite to campsite. Laundrie's hotel was only a 7-minute walk from Woody's Tavern Saturday, August 14th. The couples went camping and complained to their friends about the man behaving strangely near their campsite. They said they were going to move and they're going to pack up and move their campsite, that he was still creeping them out. They said there was a creepy man around their camp who had intimidated them, according to police search warrant. Investigators were informed that Kylen had mentioned to her friends that if something happened to them, they would be murdered. Their friends said these are outdoor girls and are independent and confident. For somebody to make them feel uncomfortable, it has to be a very valid discomfort. Monday, August 16th, the two women were reported missing. Wednesday, August 18th, Kylen and Crystal were found dead in South Mesa area of LaSalle. They were found on August 18th. Kylen and Crystal were found dead in the South Mesa area of LaSalle Loop Road in Grand County. According to reports, one of their friends came across one of their bodies while searching for them on her own in the South Mesa area. Deputies from Grand County Sheriff's Office later discovered the other body. They were both discovered undressed from the waist down, with one of them wearing a bra that was raised to expose her breasts. Their bodies were covered in gunshot wounds. According to the search warrant, the wounds were located on their backsides and or chest of the victims. Their friend Caleb Borza was one of the last people to see the two women alive. She said, "We were just having a great time, having a couple of drinks, and all they said was there was a creep staying next to them, and that it was so. My opinion on this so far is Brian and Gabby had already known of Kylen, who worked at Moonflower." Interesting. Whether they knew Kylen's name or not is irrelevant, says Geneva. I agree. I believe she did have the dreads in her hair, so that would be a stark feature about this woman. So being that Gabby and Brian were having an argument outside of the Moonflower makes me think, Geneva that is, makes Geneva think that something happened inside the place, and if anything to do with Kylen, and if it had anything to do with Kylen, and in a way it almost feels like a very small town in that area because he runs into Kylen at the Moonflower. Who knows what happened to get them into an argument with that situation. Interesting. And then they ended up going to the bar, which was a 7-minute walk from where he was staying in the hotel room. And being he was alone, not to have any contact with Gabby at all that night, makes me think about what was his agenda for that night, that he was alone. It would have been very coincidental if he had also went to the bar that night and followed them to where they were, which in the timeline would make perfect sense because it was the 12th on Moonflower, the 13th Woody's Tavern, and then, hold on. And then just say he did follow them to the campground after Woody's Tavern. Then he would know where they were setting up camp because their friend Kayla said that there was a creep staying next to them. So Brian and Gabby must have set up their camp next to them. Of course, this is if this creep was Brian. Let's just say that if it was him near their campsite, Gabby had to have been with him at this point. So obviously, if they were shot to death and he was with Gabby near that site, she would have had heard gunshots and obviously been startled. On that point, on a side note, imagine if Gabby had no knowledge of what Brian did, and Brian had to do something to her to shut her up in essence. Now, hold on, let's get back to this. Back to Geneva. If they were shot to death and he was with Gabby near that site, she would have heard the gunshots and obviously been startled. Or maybe he was there with them alone, or could have been a whole other person. Now, moving along, she says. She's still on Wednesday, August 18th. The sheriff, Stephen White, had said, "We do believe it was an outside party. No firearms have been recovered from that area." The sheriff's office also stated that the public is no longer in danger. Excuse me, take a big asterisk beside that one. How do you know that, sheriff's office? But many people, however, are not convinced. A friend, Cindy Sue Hunter, said, "We aren't safe until they give us more than that." I agree with that. She claims she went to the campsite after they failed to return as planned and called the cops. She said, "This isn't a murder-suicide. They don't have anyone in custody. I understand that whoever did this may or may not have left. We have no idea how." The next date is Tuesday, August 24th. Geneva goes on to say, Petito and Laundrie were seen checking out of a hotel in Salt Lake City, Utah. The couple left Salt Lake City for Grand Teton National Park in Wyoming. Petito's mother, Nicole Schmidt, said she has not spoken with her daughter since then, which was when she said last spoke. Is when she said the last was through a FaceTime call, I guess. Now this leads me to another good point, Geneva, that is. Geneva says that it could have been Brian at the campsite with the two women because it stated that Petito and Laundrie were seen checking out of a hotel. Now think about that. They're traveling in their van, which has a semi-bed in it, and they sleep in their tent at night. So why would they be going into a hotel? So let's just say it was behind at the campsite and they rented a hotel that particular night. Gabby was in a hotel. Maybe Brian made an excuse to go somewhere. He already knew where the two women's campsite was, and if he had followed them from Woody's Tavern and then possibly do the unthinkable. Now, Wednesday, August 25th was when Petito last posted on Instagram, which was dated August 25th, but there's no location specified. I found it interesting, says Geneva, that Brian's last Instagram post was on August 13th, the day after the 911 call, and the day they were pulled over in Moab, Utah, which states humans are primates, great apes in fact, but I don't know how great we are as species. So she takes that sentence as they're not all perfect, as we're not all perfect, speaking humans, I get it, as we should be. So then Thursday, August 26th at 8 p.m., a witness, Jessica Shulte, sees Brian at the Spread Creek campground, which is where Gabby's body was found. That's who you heard opening up this video. She specifically said that she only saw Brian and that he appeared confused and awkward, but it was just him and there was no Gabby. So she went on to say she saw Brian Laundrie parking her van August 26th at Spread Creek. She already reported it to the FBI. She wasn't 100% sure, but now that there's dash cam footage of the van where I saw it, she was 100% sure. You can go back and reference that. So let's move forward a little bit. So the timeline, it was parked, and for a timeline, it was parked on the 26th. I believe so at that point. Where is Gabby? Is she in a hotel? Is she at a campsite? He's on his own, but at this point, she has to still be alive because Friday, August 27th at 1 p.m. was the last time that she was seen alive at the restaurant of Mary Piglet's. So she clearly was just alive when Jessica had seen Brian. It's very peculiar where Gabby could have went. And then at 6 p.m., the Red, White, and Bethune had seen Gabby's van parked at Spread Creek Campground, which I'm assuming would be the same area, Geneva says, that Jessica had seen the van. So we can only assume that between Mary Piglet's on August 27th and August 29th was the time frame of Gabby's death, because on Sunday, August 29th, Brian decided to do some hitchhiking at 5:30 p.m. Miranda Baker picks up Brian hitchhiking in Coulter Bay. At 6:09, drops Brian off at Jackson Lake Dam between 6:15 and 6:20. Norma Jean picks up Brian near the Chapel of Sacred Heart. Between 6:30 and 6:40, Norma drops Brian off at the Spread Creek campground again. So while his fiancée is somewhere in the wilderness, he's doing all this lone walking. And either he had already done the dirty deed or went back to Spread Creek to do the dirty deed, and it doesn't seem that there was much of a cover-up, that her body was just found out in the wilderness Monday, August 30th. Gabby's mother said she received texts sent from her daughter's phone, but she wasn't sure whether it was her or not. It read, "No service in Yosemite," if you'll remember. It's unclear if she ever actually made it to Yosemite. Whether she sent the text now, Tuesday, August 31st, Brian Mothers canceled a stay at the campsite in Florida for 2 people. That was dated for September 1st. It was dated September 1st to the 3rd, suggesting she might have known that Brian was heading home the next day. Interesting. So did Brian's mother know that Gabby was no longer around, being he got home the next day? Wednesday, September 1st, he must have tipped her off somehow that he wasn't going to be going to that campsite and he was going home instead. Minus one person, his fiancée, Gabby. So that was Wednesday, September 1st, when he returned, Chimiva says, when he returned home in the couple's van to his family's home in Northport, but he declined to talk to authorities about her disappearance. He retained a lawyer and refused to cooperate with authorities. And then September 6th through the 8th, I believe they left on the 7th, was Brian and his family's camping trip. And then Sunday, September 10th, were 2 911 calls connected the home of Laundrie's parents. They were both public service calls, with the first place just being before 4 p.m. and the second around 6 p.m. It is unclear who called 911 or what those calls entailed, as the logs have been partially redacted. However, both calls have been giving the brief description of problem settled. Now, Saturday, September 11th is the day that Gabby was officially reported missing, and the police in Northport said they recovered the van at the home of the couple, shared with Laundrie's parents. Petito was reported missing 10 days after Laundrie returned to his parents' Northport, Florida home with their van and without Gabby. On Sunday, September 12th, Kylen Shulte's dad, Sean Paul Shulte, who is also from Montana, had posted a series of angry comments on Facebook. One read, "One thing is on my mind, where the hell is the FBI? I, for one, have not seen one single person. I have not been questioned by the FBI. I don't see or hear them. The Grand County Sheriff's is in charge, and they're putting clues in an FBI database. I don't know if I don't know who the hell does," which I would give a virtual high five to this man, because it is so true. And with what's going on in the world, this poor man, our country right now, with the FBI, they're doing a lot of covering up lately. And then on Monday, September 13th, he wrote, "If I had DNA, I would search every database you all suggest. I am a father in a park looking for local clues by local folks. Yes, 2 other missing girls look like Chris," which I'm assuming is Crystal. "I get it. Yes, one passed through Moab. I get that. I repeat, I am one person, a father in a park. I do not work for the FBI. Moab, I am here. Come look into these eyes. Kylen's eyes tell me your clue." He set up a table he is calling a clue booth to get his tips out about the murder. As of September 18th, the clue booth was still open. The frustration with the handling of the case began even before the women were found dead, according to the Daily Beast. The women's bodies were discovered by a family friend, Cindy Sue Hunter, who felt compelled to mount her own search for the pair after the women's bodies were discovered by a family friend. Search for the pair after becoming frustrated, by what she considered a lack of progress by police. Hunter told the outlet Sean Paul Shulte was begging police to help find his daughter and daughter-in-law, but turned to friends for help. That is just completely devastating. Welcome to the 21st century. Tuesday, September 14th, it is when Laundrie was last seen. His family has told investigators he went for a hike in the 25,000-acre Carlton Reserve and never returned. Sunday, September 19th, authorities said a body believed to be that of Gabby Petito was found Sunday in a national forest in Wyoming. Charles Jones, the supervisory agent in the FBI's Denver office, said the remains were found at the campground in Brigger Teton National Forest near Grand National Park, which Petito's mother said she had planned to visit. Last month, the remains were consistent with Petito, 22, Jones said, adding that the forensic investigation would later confirm the discovery at the Spread Creek dispersed camping area. The cause of death has not been determined. Photos allegedly taken at the crime scene where police found her body revealed a log with spray paint on it and what appeared to be bullet holes made in the wood. This paint may have been used to mark as evidence Gabby Petito's body was found in a similar manner to Kylen Shulte and Crystal Turner. Like the couple, Petito was discovered in a remote area near a creek. At Spread Creek dispersed camping, while Petito's exact causes of death has not been released, there's speculation that she was shot like Schultz and Turner. Images from the inside of Laundrie's Northport home suggests that he owned a gun. And then there's also one photo of Gabby holding a gun next to her mouth. So there's no doubt in my Geneva's mind, God bless her for bringing this to my attention, which is the inspiration for this video, that he did have a gun and they didn't find a gun with the women on their side, and they didn't find one now. And since they're saying that her body was found in a similar manner, as does them, I'm only assuming, says Geneva, that her pants were also down, and probably something disgusting happened to all three of these victims. And we'll also take a glance at his bedroom, which revealed some very disturbing things. Monday, September 20th, police revealed that they are actively investigating a deer camera footage that captured a hiker resembling Brian trekking through the wilderness. A man named Sam Bass told investigators he spotted the man toting a backpack at 6:17 a.m. in the town of Baker, Florida, about 500 miles away from Laundrie's home in Northport. Bass said, "I'm not saying this is the guy, but whoever was on my trail camera this morning in Baker strongly fits the description of Brian Laundrie." Authorities have been contacted, but people in the Northwest Florida area can be on the lookout Tuesday, September 21st. After their home was officially declared a crime scene, Laundrie's parents, Roberta and Cress, were seen being pulled out of their homes while investigators worked on collecting and tracking down evidence that might help explain his sudden disappearance. One of the images from 2017 real estate listing takes us inside Brian's presumed bedroom. A disturbing poster of dark figures with hammers and spears violently attacking other figures can be seen resting on the two-case bookshelf, which that was also one of the stamps that he had made that was on his Instagram. I get it, yes. As well as other items observed in the room include what appears to be a gun propped up next to the shelf over his bed, a Darth Vader mask, and Darth Vader mask with the series of Watchmen books. According to the DC documents, Watchmen takes place in an alternate world where the mere presence of an American superhero changed history. The U.S. won the Vietnam War, Nixon is still president, and the Cold War is in full effect. It begins with the murder mystery before unfolding into a planet-altering conspiracy. When a retired hero is killed, his former teammates must investigate the conspiracy they uncover, will intertwine their secret dramas and twisted psychologies, ultimately asking where the fine line is drawn between heroes and villains. And also there's a photo shown from Gabby's video that shows Brian reading what appears to be Jeff Vandermeer's Annihilation, a 2014 novel by 4 females who venture into the so-called Area X, where 3 of them die and the 4th disappears permanently. Sounds like he might have got a lot of ideas from these disturbing books, Geneva says. Thursday, September 23rd, the FBI said Laundrie is being sought by federal authorities in relation to a grand jury indictment for his activities following the death of Gabriel Petito, and a federal court in Wyoming issued the arrest warrant for him, alleging that he knowingly and with intent to defraud used one or more unauthorized access devices, namely a Capital One bank debit card and a personal identification numbers for 2 accounts On Sunday, September 26, according to his family's attorney, the FBI took personal items belonging to Brian Laundrie in hopes of building a DNA profile of Gabby Petito's missing fiancé. The FBI requested some personal items belonging to Brian to assist them with the DNA matching, and Brian's parents provided the FBI with what they could as the FBI seek Laundrie's DNA. It's possible we may soon know if he was involved in the Shulte and Turner's murder. Federal investigators are also following a lead that Brian bought a burner phone from a tea store in Northport on the day he went missing, in an outing where he was joined by an older woman. Now also Reddit has alleged to have worked with Laundrie when he still worked at Publix and claimed that the 23-year-old carried a concealed weapon, saying, "I know for a fact he had his CCW in Florida. I even asked another employee who worked there as well, who's big into guns, and he said, yeah, he's 100 remembers him." Says, yeah, he 100% remembers him having one as well, in that they've talked about guns before. Now, she says Genevieve is still working on another in-depth video about more disturbing things that she found with Brian on social media. So please go check that out. And she has a possible clue that Gabby had put out on social media that led her to the conclusion that he may be the following in someone else's footsteps. That's very interesting. So make sure you go over there in the description of this video, hit that link and click up and let her show you all the little details. She has a great presentation, but this timeline was exactly what I was envisioning the other night. What's that new word I learned in Vaj that the BBC taught me yesterday? I can't remember.